What's good, YouTube? If you're new to Know the Grind, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's free to you, but it's major to me. Enjoy the video. The first game of the NFC wildcard weekend started off with the Eagles and the Packers, man. I was a little optimistic about this game because, the Packers has a pretty good offense, man. They can score in some bunches when Jordan Love is hot. But nonetheless, Eagles beat them 22-10. Jordan Love did not play that well at all. Man, this wasn't like a juggernaut Eagles performance, which causes more alarm for Jordan Love. So let's just go ahead and dive into what I mean by that. I think Jordan Love's turnovers are an issue for them. You can't throw 3 interceptions in a playoff game and expect to win, nonetheless any football game. But, the playoffs is always harder. And it sucked because if you would have told me that, their defense, Green Bay's defense would have held Jalen Hurts to 131 passing yards and A.J. Brown to 1 catch for 10 yards, I would have for sure thought the Packers would have won. And it's bad because he wasted a good defensive performance, Their defense played well. Josh Jacobs ran the ball very well, 18 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. He also had 40 receiving yards. So they got great production out of their star running back to ease the pressure off the quarterback. And then you had a great defensive performance. So I personally think if, he didn't turn the ball over so much, I think the game would have probably been closer and it would have probably had a better realistic shot of actually beating the Eagles because the Eagles did not play their best game at all. I'm going to say this is just one game for them, considering the fact that Saquon Barkley still ran the ball very well. In football, as long as you can play defense and run the ball, especially when it gets to the playoffs, that's a great recipe for success. And I think this is kind of that game to where because they can run the ball now with Saquon, it's going to kind of eliminate some of the damage that would happen if Jalen Hurts is not throwing the ball very well, or if a star receiver like A.J. Brown is not having his best game. Because, if you can run the ball, you can still move the chains. That's managing the clock, which is you want in a football game. That's only, one win or go home in a playoff situation. So it kind of creates that stability as well as the defense is playing good, man. The interception by Darius Slay, that was textbook. The run, turn around, look at the ball at the perfect time, catch it. Like, that's beautiful. Like, if you love football, especially if you're DB or somebody like that, man, DB play don't get no better than that, dog. And so I definitely like what the Eagles are heading. I definitely think this will be motivation for them. Whenever A.J. Brown get upset on the sideline, the next game he always has a big game, man. So the fact that he pulled out a book on the sideline, man, is wild, man. He's funny, bro. But yeah, man, I just say this is one game for the Eagles, man. I think they'll bounce back. The Commanders were back in the playoffs. And yes, they won on the road, beat the Buccaneers 23-20 with a rookie quarterback who obviously everybody knows is going to win Rookie of the Year. The award been sealed for a couple of weeks right now. You got to love what Dan Quinn is doing. First year there, they got their first playoff win in over 20 years with a rookie quarterback, as well as Cliff Kingsbury being the OC. I think he'll get some head coaching jobs, and I think he deserves a lot more credit with what he's doing with that offense and how he's allowing to showcase Jaden Daniels' skills. I definitely think that they're a dangerous team. I really like Detroit. I think Detroit is going to come out the NFC, but I will say this, I would not be surprised if Jaden Daniels and them could walk into Detroit and beat them. One playoff game, one time that, you just need to be hot. This is one of those games where Jaden Daniels scrambling for, a couple of first downs, or that one scramble where they think he's about to run and he throws it past their head when they finally come up, which, as a former linebacker, we absolutely hate running quarterbacks. I just definitely think he is the type of quarterback that can scare, the Detroit Lions in the game, especially when they've had a bye week. You've been rested up, you know what I'm saying? And Washington is kind of riding that wave of confidence. Especially with Dan Quinn, calling the defense. I definitely think if I'm Detroit, I would tighten up a little bit and definitely come into this game, not trying to play any games, not coming out slow, because if they do, it can get scary. I honestly don't know if the Buccaneers will get any better than what they kind of are. And I know some people are going to say, Chris Godwin has been out with injury, so they've only really had Mike Evans. The run game got better. They switched up their run scheme from the beginning of the year if people kind of noticed it. And, Baker Mayfield is what Baker Mayfield is. I just want to say I think this is the max they're going to get. They're not a young and, up and coming football team. Their star wide receiver, Mike Evans is, he's getting to that point where he's about to start racing against Father Time. Chris Godwin is not super young either, and he's going to be coming off, a major season-ending injury. I do think this is kind of their ceiling more so than a situation where it's kind of like the Bucs are just getting started. They're going to come back next year and be better. I don't know if you can say that about the Bucs. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the Falcons in that division getting better. Wink, wink. And then the NFC as a whole, I think this is what the Bucs kind of going to be. They're never going to be too bad because of the veterans they have and the talent, Levante David and them. But like I said, at the same time, the guys that they have that are the stars and stuff are about to start racing against Father Time. And I don't see the young core pieces that are like on the come up to take them to another level in the future. So we had Monday Night Football to close out the first weekend of wild card playoffs for the NFL, man. We had the Rams versus the Vikings. And let me say, this game probably shocked everybody. The Vikings came in 14-3, while the Rams came in 10-7. And the Rams absolutely just demolished them from start to finish. The game wasn't close. I don't think it was ever close, beside them almost getting that fumble call by Matthew Stafford, but it was incomplete. And, 27-9. And it raised a lot of questions. I do think people had to realize the Rams really aren't a true 10-7 team. They only lost a couple of those games at the beginning of the year because they didn't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. So I think the Rams are really good. I think the beginning of the year, their record kind of don't tell how they really are. They're better than 10-7. People got to realize the first, when they started off, I think like 1-4, it was because they had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out. Them two really good receivers. So what team is going to win without their, 1A and 1B? And I think this playoff game kind of showed how good the Rams really can be, especially on offense. They're good in the right areas. You got a Super Bowl winning coach in Sean McVay is going to call some great plays. You got a Super Bowl winning veteran quarterback like Matthew Stafford that's seen all the coverages you can see and has been in all the pressurized moments. And then you got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, which is just as good as about anybody's, tandem. Not saying they're better than anybody's tandem, but, it's just about as good as it's going to get in the NFL as far as a, 1A and 1B type receiver combo. And then the defense. The defense, I think, is really what shocked everybody. I personally think they kind of pulled from Detroit's game plan a little bit the previous week when everybody seen Detroit just kind of rush that, Sam Darnold, because he's not that mobile. And I think they kind of pull, it's a copycat league, rather it's, football, basketball, whatever. Most teams, they're going to find your weakness, and they see another team do it, they're going to do it until they see that you changed it. And so I think it was a great game plan by the Rams. Sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. 9 times. They sacked him. And so, yeah, great performance on both sides of the ball. And the Vikings 4-13 are going home in the first round. I kind of hate it for Sam because this does raise questions, and I think his market value kind of dropped. Like, I think if he would have played good versus Detroit and in this playoff game and they lost, let's say they lost, 27-24 with Sam Darnold, throwing 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 turnover or no turnovers, and, the Rams beat them by a last-second field goal. I think in the offseason you're going into it like, okay, Sam Darnold's probably put himself, that $45-50 million range type of quarterback. I think now the question is going to range to where, okay, we'll probably pay him, $30 million. He falls into that middle tier, or I personally would kind of give him that Baker Mayfield kind of contract, which is he showed out of 32 teams in the NFL, he's a starting quarterback. But I don't know if you can say, okay, give him a 5+ year contract and give him the keys to the franchise. I think this playoff game kind of ruined that for him, as well as the Detroit game previously. So the Vikings' biggest thing is going to be trying to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback, because you did draft J.J. McCarthy top 10 last year. And a lot of times you go with the NFL, NBA the same way. It's a paper trail, and you ain't drafting nobody high, especially in a quarterback to, sit for a while. So they got a tough decision to make. Do you want to let Sam Darnold walk, or do you believe in J.J. McCarthy after coming off an injury and he really hasn't played, NFL football outside of preseason, which really doesn't matter. It's going to be a tough decision either way, and they're going to have to make that choice knowing that you let Sam walk or that you sign Sam and, let JJ, sit for another year or two, or trade JJ, because other teams are going to be looking for a young quarterback. And that's going to be a whole other question in itself, man, which you might have to make a video off of just what the Vikings might do alone, man, because it's a lot of scenarios they can go into that I'm already thinking off of at the top of my head right now. So let me know what y'all think, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and see y'all in the next video.